Aloha maiko, kako. Welcome, aloha. During the month of May, we celebrate and honor Asia American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Seems appropriate to start with a little aloha. This meeting of the Washington State University Board of Regents is called to order. Welcome. My name is Lisa Kiohokaloli Shower, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Regents. Our board chair, Marty Dickinson, is enjoying some well-deserved time off in Italy, and I'll be filling in for her today, although we do miss her. I wanted to share a little about Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I actually wanted to give a shout out to our WSU faculty member, mindfulness teacher and trainer with a very long title, Interim Director of Community and Public Affairs and Special Assistant to the Provost at WSU, Trymaine Gaither. He shared on LinkedIn, May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And this month, I will honor the culture and contributions of our AA, NHPI community members. Here are some ways we can all help celebrate AA, NHPI Heritage Month. 1, support Asian-owned businesses. 2, post about your favorite AAPI celebrity. 3, speak out against AAPI discrimination. 4, cook a new dish to honor AAPI culture. And 5, read your child books with AAPI characters. So I always think that it's important if we honor and celebrate a particular month that we are taking a moment to understand what that month is about, to honor it in a way, and then to take action. So I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to Trymaine for his leadership, and I look forward to his work. And there was a conversation about perhaps having him work with the Board of Regents, and so it would be great to see him help us continue to center our work and hold the values that we share as a land-grant institution at the forefront of our work together. Today, I have the honor to celebrate the 51st Tri-Citian of the Year. Laura Powell was awarded the 2023 Tri-Citian of the Year as a dedicated volunteer focused on science, technology, education, literacy, and combating human trafficking. Regent Powell is widely known for her tireless efforts to enhance the quality of life in the Tri-Cities region with a particular focus on these areas. She has earned a well-deserved reputation as a dedicated and passionate volunteer, and we are fortunate to have her as one of our own. So with that, we'd like to celebrate. I also want to highlight Regent Cerna's recent conversation on May 3rd with President Schultz that you can find on YouTube, Beyond the Field, an in-depth look at intercollegiate athletics. I want to also mention that Regent Cerna and I had the opportunity to attend an Association of Governing Board conference, which was really helpful and insightful, allowed the two of us to not only learn a bit more about our role as members of the board, but also to network and talk to other governing board members across the entire US. I wanted to share that this is our last meeting of the academic year, and it is also one of the region's favorite meetings because it's in conjunction with commencement. And so the Regents have tried to maintain a bit of a commitment that we each try to attend all of the various commencements in all of the various locations. And so we will get ready to deploy very soon after this meeting to try and show up and support in any way that we can. And so we are excited to help celebrate all of those students who have achieved so many different degrees that will be celebrated across the state of Washington today and throughout the next couple weeks. Let's see. So the last comment that I just want to make is that I appreciate the positivity from my fellow board members, and I actually want to amplify a comment from Regent Ramos. She shared this morning an important reflection comment that we've recovered from a pandemic and we are in a transformational moment. We've endeavored to make significant changes, and while we face challenges, we, the Board of Regents, are incredibly committed to this Coug Nation, and we're proud to be part of this university. We take our role seriously, and we are extremely proud of our leadership team. I want to remind folks that we have just an incredible opportunity to share what we do here, how we do it, and those that are leading. So with that, I want to remind folks that the audience, members of the public, are invited to view the Board of Regents meeting via YouTube live stream. A link to the live stream is available on the Board of Regents website. And as a last item of my report, I'd like to provide a reminder that we'll have a public comment period during the meeting. The public comment period will be after the regular agenda items and will be for up to 10 minutes. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes, and preference will be given to speakers who have signed up in advance and who are speaking to matters that are before the board or will be before the board at future meetings. So if anyone has not signed up in advance and would like to, please sign up with our board assistant, Desiree Jacobson. Prior to your comments, please state your name, your affiliation, and your subject matter. And it is my honor to turn the floor over to our president, President Schultz.
Thank you and good morning. I'll slide up. I'm looking at Lisa King right now. That's great, but I do need my slides instead. All right, perfect. Well, thank you. It's been a nice week, and this is always a fun Regents meeting because we get to celebrate commencement, the end of the academic year, things like that. So today I'm going to give a little bit of update on a few items. You're going to hear some more when Chancellor and Executive Vice President DeWald talks about the Spokane campus. But I just want to hit an overview, and then at the end I'm going to do a little something I haven't done before. I'm going to talk about some of the headwinds that I think we have, not just WSU, but public higher education in our country. And then I'm going to talk about some of the tailwinds that I think we also have, because I want to end on a really positive note about a lot of the great things happening right now at our university. So every year, interestingly, I think I've done something like 14 State of the Universities at 2 different institutions. And I don't think I've ever done the same style twice. We've done it, we switch it up a little bit each year. And a few years ago, when we went to one WSU, we explicitly decided to move it around and not always do it necessarily on the Pullman campus. So last year I was in Tri-Cities and did it there. This year I was able to do it in Spokane. And those of you who like that jacket, I decided to wear it again today. But I appreciate Daryl and the Spokane team hosting us and able to provide just a little bit of overview about some positive things happening at WSU. And then take some questions and answers that are submitted. Some are in advance, some are live from the audience there. And it's always good just to be out, celebrate what's happening, and be able to answer the kind of questions that sometimes are difficult or challenging, or somebody wants to stand up in a room and ask. And at least people appreciate being able to do it. They always put this on YouTube. I look at YouTube a lot for RV videos and other really, important content. Every time I do something like this, I hope, one, that I don't do it in front of an empty room. And second, you wonder, does anybody actually go back and look at these? And I am stunned sometimes after doing these annually, how many of our alumni and other people that it just wasn't a convenient time will go back and look at it. And also, we stream these, and I think we reach twice as many people that we would have doing it live, because I think people will be in their office, they're curious, but they got other things that they're doing. And I really appreciate the fact that this is an area where I think technology has allowed these to go out and people get used to sort of saying, I don't need to go to that classroom or whatever. I can pull it up, I can listen to what they have to say, type in a question. And I think this has really been a good way to be able to do these. And I think next year, I believe I'm scheduled to be in Vancouver to do it. So looking forward to another State of the University. Well, one of it was a big day for WSU. We did State of the University that morning, in addition to celebrating the university's birthday. We announced the pediatrics residency at WSU Spokane. And Daryl will talk about this today. But I just want to commend our health sciences team, our foundation team. This required a $10 million philanthropic commitment just to get this off the ground. They've been talking in Spokane for at least 30 years about needing a pediatrics residency program in this side of the mountains, and nobody had ever quite figured out how to do it. Daryl and his team probably worked for 2 years, pulling together partnerships from Providence, from Primera Healthcare, from individual donors, from the Community Cancer Fund to make this a reality. And as Daryl shared yesterday, at one point, we went to Washington, D.C., we're meeting with people, and several people want to talk to us about how did you do that without going and getting federal dollars to do that. The reason this is important is if we're going to do new initiatives, we're going to not have to go to the same way that everybody else tries. We're going to try something new and different. And people start noticing and going, hey, they're doing something different. I wonder if that'll work for us. I really appreciate the fact that it's not just the medical students, and we're going to hear from one of our graduates today. It'll also be the residency programs that we're going to bring that really help us make sure we're putting physicians in rural and underserved areas. So just a kudos to the Spokane area group, the interim dean of medicine, Daryl is executive vice president of fundraising team. These are team sport. Sometimes, one or two people get a lot of credit for it, but at the end of the day, it's a whole lot of people in the room making this happen. Also, we had another, and we talk about, interestingly, we got some survey results back from our faculty and staff that talked about what it's like working at WSU. We're going to be ready to talk about those a little bit more in a couple of weeks. But one of the things that came out of that a little bit was, okay, we've set the system up, what does it do for any of us? What does it do for me? And one of the things that we're starting to see is this ability to use multiple locations throughout the state on research projects, on new degree programs and things like that, much more seamlessly than we could before. And this is a great example. Paul Petrie, our chancellor at our Everett campus, Sandra Haynes, who's not here today, also involved with this. Snohomish County and WSU partner established a new research center in Everett around biofuels. We're going to continue to see these types of initiatives that are multi-campus initiatives that brings expertise from different places across the WSU system, partnering with counties, with county governments, with economic development groups, with philanthropic groups to advance things in the state of Washington. And to me, all of this is a reinforcement of us being Washington's land-grant university. So again, congrats on what was also a fantastic partnership. We also had some notable gifts, and Mike will talk about some things when he gives his report on the foundation. David Pollard, though, made a $1.5 million commitment to establish the Center for Arts and Humanities. And a lot of places, if you do one of these, it would be a physical space you go to, somebody's name up over the door and things. Dean Todd Butler and our arts and sciences folks have decided they want more of a virtual center where the dollars are going to be used more on investment from faculty, staff, and students as opposed to a physical space. I had a chance to meet Mr. Pollard several years ago when he was contemplating doing a gift. And then I was able to go, and he had a big dinner and he had on, sort of the wildest pants in the world I've ever seen. And he is a really eclectic, fun personality to be around. But we also always talk about investments, sometimes in engineering and agriculture and those other areas. But we're also starting to see some really nice investments in the College of Arts and Sciences. And given the impact that has on all of our students, everybody's got to go through arts and sciences. It's really important that we see investments in those areas as well. So again, congrats to our development team and Dean Todd Butler and all the others that worked on putting this together. Well, we always want to talk a little bit about intercollegiate athletics, and occasionally, we talk about football and men's and women's basketball a lot. But interestingly, this year we had some real success in golf. So right this weekend, and of course it's raining, the NCAA Women's Golf Regional is in Pullman, Washington, and we had one of our golfers that made that regional. It's only the 5th golfer in our history that's ever made NCAA regional. Our men's team finished 3rd in the Pac-12. We had 2 players in the top 10, highest finish we've ever had. Golf doesn't get all the publicity and things elsewhere, but we have great student athletes in those areas that are also excelling, and it's kind of fun. I was texting with the coaches. And, they love being noticed by lots of folks as well for the great job that they're doing with our student athletes in these areas. So lots to celebrate this year on the field and in the classroom. Um, One of the other interesting opportunities we have is Enrique and I, or Regent Cern and I, spent lots of time talking about name, image, and likeness and the future of intercollegiate athletics this week. And Enrique, I don't know how they do it, but when the print media goes, they always take the most rambling quote I have and put but the
You
fact
just
of
got
the
to tighten
matter
up your
is,
sound bites. That's
yeah, I
all.
know. I need to speak it smaller. But the state of Washington, we are in a unique position to be very influential in name, image, and likeness because of our delegation, Senator Maria Cantwell, Congresswoman Morris Rogers, and the leadership roles they play means that University of Washington, Gonzaga, Washington State are going to be playing a major role in this because guess what? We're in their states, we're in the footprints, they know us, they're going to know a little bit about it. So Pat actually testified before the House Subcommittee on this, and this was reported nationally. It's great exposure for Washington State University. It's a great opportunity for us to once again be in a leadership position around these things that are important, not just to us and our state, but our region, nation, and student athletes all over the place. So Pat did a great job. Interestingly, when Pat was informed he was going to be doing it, he may not have been quite as joyous as he was at the end. So, but a fantastic job by Pat and team, and Glenda getting him ready. Well, one of the things that we wanted to do, and yesterday we had a little conversation about what are we doing at the federal level to align with state resources and others. Glenda Becker-Fenter in the red, sitting on the couch there next to me, leads our federal advocacy efforts. And we've invested more in that office. We now have an assistant director there. I think we're doing further investments in there because they have great opportunities right now for investment. But she organized, along with Interim Vice President Chris Mulick, having all the chancellors go and meet with our delegation as a system team to talk about the key things that were happening and the impact WSU was making in these different areas. And what happened was each of the visits that we did, the chancellor who was head of the campus in their particular district took the lead on what things were important. So Paul had his opportunity, so did Elizabeth and others, to really kind of focus around, all politics is local. People want to know, yeah, what's happening at WSU, but they want to know what's happening in their local campus and how that's impacting that particular area. So it was a very effective way to do it. It was great to be there as a team, and we want to make sure that we're doing this in the future. I mentioned yesterday too, our government relations team as a whole responds very quickly to opportunities, and some of the strategic planning that we've done over the last several years really is starting to make a big difference on our ability to turn things around very, very quickly and not take an opportunity and go, well, if we thought more about this, we could have come up with something better. So really appreciate how that went. You all heard from Chris Mulick yesterday. It's hard to underscore how much investment our legislature did in higher education and WSU. Appreciate the investment made in facilities and people and new degree programs and hiring tenure track research faculty and all of that stuff that was in that package. These things don't just happen. It requires lots of visits. Interestingly, Chris and I will start doing legislative visits this month. It's a year-round thing. It's not just when the legislature's in session. And last year, we happened to go up and see a legislator in a more northern district. I think we spent 2.5 hours on his porch talking about public higher education, Washington, diversity, equity initiatives, and why they were important. And this was a Republican member. And we had a chance to have a discussion and dialogue, not just here's what we need or here's what we're doing. And people don't always appreciate that that's where we make a lot of progress, is these kind of conversations that we have that are in depth, not in somebody's office necessarily when you got 10 minutes of time, but it's how do you have some give and take back and forth, and people always appreciate that. So thank you to our team of doing it, but more importantly, we got great legislative support from both sides of the aisle for public higher education, and there are very, very few states that can say that. Interestingly, it didn't get a lot of publicity, and I thought it should, is there's a great article in Spokesman Review on the Senate budget, a proposal that came out that had positive kudos from both the Republicans and the Democrats on the budget. And we, in this area of intense bipartisanship, we don't often celebrate when we have both sides going, hey, we got together and we were pleased with what we came up with. We think it's great for the state. And so I just tend to think that we have the same partisan issues here as everywhere, but it's neat to see folks come together around things like higher education and things like that for our state. So well done. So let me shift topics here just really quickly for the last couple minutes and talk about some national headwinds in higher education. You know, this is into my 14th year as a university president, and I've never experienced a year of such highs and such lows, you know, at the same time. I don't mean me personally, just us as a profession. WSU, we're, you know, going to set probably have another fundraising record this year. Enrollment looks like it's rebounding. We had probably the best legislative session certainly since I've been president in terms of investment. But if I look around, then you also have, you know, we had a nationally focused murder that occurred 7 miles away from our campus. You just start going through these types of things. We're still recovering from pandemic. Some of the national headwinds, though, that right now are not in the state of Washington, but it's really a false sense of security if we think they can't come our direction. There are overt attacks around diversity, equity, and inclusive excellence work in several states. As a matter of fact, several states are pulling budget money from public universities. They want to know how much you spend on this, and guess what? We're going to cut your budget by that amount so that you can't do work and spend state money on that. To me, we need to be providing and making sure that our graduates are prepared to work in a complex, multicultural world. And I don't want to produce graduates that go to the workplace and have to figure that out. To me, we've got to continue to double down on our diversity and equity work at WSU. But we can just look next door in Idaho. If you think it's, you know, only in the Southeast or only in some of these other states, it's close by, and you just worry what kind of impact that's going to have. The second thing is, you know, Texas is a state, and University of Texas, Texas A&M, they have fantastic public research universities that are some of the best in the world. They're actively considering their legislature removing tenure and having so past a certain date, no new faculty would ever be granted tenure. Now, this is two AAU institutions leading, and you've got a legislature where that stuff used to kind of die. It hasn't, maybe it's died this session, but it went a lot longer than people thought it would be. And so we sort of see this attack on tenure as unneeded, unnecessary. And I just think this is really something that we've got to continue to be concerned about. We'd say, well, in Washington, that's not coming up. Somebody will see that. It'll get sent, you know, through the legislature. It'll start getting some hearing. And so this idea that that won't come here, I think is also important. The value of a college degree. I think we talked about this some as a board. I've never seen, in my experience, in my time in higher education, so political around whether education is a desirable thing as a college degree needed. I tend to think that data is irrefutable, that college degrees have lifetime earnings that are higher and all these things. But this is something that myself and Anamari Kause want to make sure the two presidents of the two research universities in Washington, we've got to be speaking out on this a lot. We've got to be articulate, and we've got to appeal to both sides of the aisle. And I think this is really going to be important. Finally, I read yesterday that one of the platforms that one of the nominees or persons running for president wants to go through and eliminate or redo completely college accreditation. And you can say, well, accreditation is kind of a pain. We got to go through all this stuff. But it serves a really valuable lens to look at what institutions are doing. And I think the reason that this is being mentioned is from an ideological point of view. You want to exert more control over what a university teaches and what it doesn't teach. So I don't want to be negative. It's just these things, even 2 years ago, weren't there. And they are really coming up, and our colleagues around the country are really, really concerned. When I talk to other presidents in some of these other states, they say, Kirk, it may not be there yet, but you better be careful because this stuff will be there before you know it, and you better be prepared for it. So I think, you know, having served as our president here for 7 years, President Kalse is 8 years at the University of Washington. We've got some highly experienced leaders. In the state of Washington, when I moved, I asked some peers, you know, what would tell me about serving these roles in the state of Washington, and they said, Perk, in the state of Washington, compared to other Western states, the presidents of the two institutions have a bully pulpit that's listened to. And I can't agree more. People do care what we think and what we say. And I think it's important for us to be out there aggressively talking about these things and making sure that we preserve a great environment for our faculty, staff, and students in learning in the state of Washington. So I always want to end on a positive note because we have a lot of positive tailwinds for WSU in the state of Washington. Record appropriations from the state of Washington and investment in higher education when a lot of states are not doing that. This morning with the board, I mentioned that several major peer flagships are dealing with unprecedented budget challenges. Penn State is dealing with $150 million set of issues right now. Rutgers is $120 million. The investments that we make and us making sure that we're balancing our budget on an annual basis and not putting off tough decisions have made a big difference. We believe we're going to have a record fundraising year for WSU. Michael report really encouraging numbers. We still got a couple months to go, but I think we will break our record from last year, which is stunning to think of maybe a little down economy that we have our 2 best years ever in private philanthropy and people investing in WSU. It's not just people, it's corporations, organizations, foundations with gift levels that are unprecedented in our history. That's a real positive as well. If I look at the attitude of our faculty and staff, we don't talk about this much, and I know Judy as a regent is here and she hears it. I continue to be stunned. It doesn't mean that people are happy about everything. They're not, and that's for good reason. But I still am stunned when I look and people enjoy coming to work. They enjoy being at WSU. They wish things were better. They wish they were paid more. But I know there's a lot of places around the country that are not like that. And we are fortunate to have such a dedicated workforce. So finally, interestingly, Leslie shared this with us last night. Another positive tailwind is U.S. News and World Report put out something recently, and we're going to do some more PR around this about what are the best states in the country for higher education in terms of funding, graduation rate, debt rate of graduates. Washington was number 2, and we were number 7 in tuition and fees, number 8 in low debt at graduation, and number 8 for 4-year college graduation rates. They were talking about the public universities in the state. So we have a state that's willing to invest in education. And I think we can't take that for granted because there are a lot of places that aren't seeing that right now. Finally, I know I said finally twice. I want to commend our enrollment management folks, and Saichioba leads that, but we have enrollment management folks at every campus. I'm not sure there has been a more stressful job at WSU this year than being in enrollment management. We talk about the budget issues. You look at just where our money comes from. Everybody knows that enrollment is really key. They have worked really hard. They've been innovative. They've been creative. We're not doing the same thing again. We're seeing some really positive results. And I think that's another thing. A lot of places are going to see drops again this year. I don't think we're going to see that at WSU. And that's a testament to a lot of people doing a lot of things. Our faculty seeing, I watch this on our campuses, somebody's wandering around holding a map, right? It's maybe mom and dad or a guardian. You know, the student don't want to ask anybody because they're embarrassed. They don't know where they're going. I watch our faculty and staff stop and go, what can I do to help? And that doesn't happen a lot of places. So enrollment success is not just administration, it's our faculty, it's our staff, it's our students, it's the interaction people have with alumni. It all makes a difference. So with that, Lisa, thank you. It's been an awesome year for WSU. We've had some significant challenges, but I'm already looking forward to all the great things that are happening this next fall. Thank you.
Any questions for our president? Next up is a report from the Chancellor, Health Sciences Spokane, Daryl DeWall.
Darryl, you want to click? Yes, please. Just throw it to you. Yeah. That's a really nice crimson jacket, I might add.
That's right.
Hey, we're going to please join me. So thank you very much for the opportunity for us to present a little bit about what good is happening around here, and it's mostly good. What we're going to do today is we'll have a little bit of a focus on people. So I've asked Dr. Celestina Barbosa-Leiker, our Executive Vice Chancellor and Professor in our College of Nursing, to join me, and we're going to tag team a little bit, but we're also going to ask a couple of other people to join us up here. So when you think about WSU Spokane, so this is the headquarters for the 3 human health focused colleges. Those are statewide colleges. So keep that in mind as we talk through this, but I'm going to borrow from what Kirk was just saying. This is really an incredible team to work with. So I get to work alongside some deans that are committed to the betterment of not only the health professionals that are coming out of their programs, but to better health for Washingtonians and for those citizens across the nation. So you ask them, well, what motivates them? And what motivates them is they like to invest in other people. And we see that across the ranks. It's the students, the staff, and the faculty. So what we're going to do is highlight some of those people who in fact actively invest in others. And what I would like to do is remind you that even though those colleges are headquartered here, we have responsibilities that are across the state.
So you've all seen this slide before. We love this slide. This is our favorite slide because it's so visual. It really shows the statewide impact of the 3 colleges here in the health sciences. We are community focused, community based, but as you can see, our statewide impact. These aren't just our educational opportunities across the state, they're also our clinical sites. So you can see we span the state of Washington. If you were to overlay a research map and our research impact, you'd see not only are we doing research here on our campus, downtown Spokane in our region, state, but also nationwide and worldwide impact as well.
I tried to, did I kill it there? If you could help me. Hang on. Here we go. So one of the ways that we are able to serve as a statewide organization is that we are serious about partnerships. What are partnerships or collaborations about? They're about commitment, they're about accountability, and they're about goals, shared and common goals that you seek to achieve together. So as you look at this, and those of you who recoil at purple, just bear with us, okay? Look at the rest of the slide. It's okay. But you'll know that we work with a lot of different organizations in higher ed. We have articulation agreements, shared degree programs. We have citing, as many of you know, Pacific Northwest University of Health Sciences, Yakima. Then if you go to the health systems, we have contractual programmatic agreements with Providence, with Multicare, with Chaz, with Empire Health, Catholic. So we're very serious about this. Then we also work with the leadership and the local chambers. Recently, Kirk was asked to give a talk at the Yakima Rotary. And folks, if you haven't been to that one, that's a couple hundred people. It's almost a little intimidating because they take it really seriously. But they want to know what WSU is doing in their ecosystem. So we went there and we talked with them about our commitment across the state. You'll also see just a brief representation of some of the tribal nations that we have active programs with right now, and we're growing in that space. And what you'll also know is that we are very thankful to those who help fund us in what some might call non-traditional needs. So these are folks that they understand our vision, they understand our mission, and they contribute. So having said all that, in terms of the partnership, we think about what comes out of that partnership.
So we are celebrating the graduation of 354 students here from our campus here in the health sciences, nursing, pharmacy, and medicine. These are 354 new healthcare professionals that we get to launch across the state of Washington, just trying to play our part and really leading into our role is trying to help with the workforce related to healthcare in our state. Thank you for attending our celebrations and for all of the celebrations that we'll have for our students this week.
So part of how we can facilitate that and the way that we see our service role is we support these three colleges. The CEOs of the colleges are the deans, but they work with the team people and they understand the reporting structure, but we work alongside them to make those programs as strong as possible, to do the wraparound services. And a key part of that is our student affairs team. And we've had the marvelous opportunity to recruit in a new colleague. And I'll ask Dr. Peter Gatow to join us up here. And now, so that he doesn't feel too uncomfortable standing under a picture of himself, what we'll do is we'll go back to this that actually kind of celebrates Peter. So Peter, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words.
Thank you, Chancellor. I'm just going to make a very brief statement. So I'm honored to be here and to join the Cooks family. For the past 25 years or so, I have been honored to serve at institutions of all sizes, classifications across the nation and even globally. And now I'm here. It's truly an honor. Success in this kind of work requires dynamic, intentional, and effective partnerships with others who are driven by a desire to see students succeed. And so I'm looking forward to those partnerships across the system, especially to support enrollment and student success efforts among other institutional priorities. I'll hang around if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gatow. So when you do ask questions and we want to invite that, feel free to also ask Peter. He'll go and have a seat now, but what I would tell you is it's not just in the educational space. So Peter's Kenyan American, and he wouldn't say this about himself because he is a modest person, but he actually runs foundations, educational foundations. And someone asked me, he asked, and then Dory Borgeson, Dean of Vet Med, said, well, do you think he'd be interested in going to Kenya? So the answer is emphatically in all caps, in large font, yes. So Peter will be part of those educational activities. So we're really excited. He has that deep expertise and that maturity, and he's not only fit really well with our broader leadership team, but we are learning from him already, and it's really a great thing. So I wanted to give a little bit of an enrollment update. It's just a snapshot because people have asked about it. So at the high point, we were at about 1,650 students on this campus in the three colleges. We're in the 1,400s right now. We are already rebounding up. People have asked, how did that happen? Because you're oversubscribed in medicine and in nursing. I'll just say that the PharmD program, a terrific College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, that there was a significant drop in the enrollment there, and then a little bit of a drop in nursing. And that drop in nursing was because we lost faculty and we could not keep as many students. We celebrate that not only has Chris and the team been able to help us to address some concerns in nursing, but in addition to that, we're already making progress in terms of the recruitment and the retention of the pharmacy students. So glad to address any questions about that right now. I would like to highlight a little bit about the three colleges. So we'll start with pharmacy. We broke it up because we've always gone medicine, nursing, and pharmacy because it's alphabetical. So we really so led by Dean Mark Lead, who's been here almost 3 years now. So we recruited him from Oregon State. He brought deep expertise. He's a terrific scholar, committed to education, and just as a reminder, folks, he's a coup. So in pharmacy, was mostly in Pullman years ago, and I don't think he would be too ashamed for me to say 40 years ago when he got his degree, it was still mostly there. Most of you also know that pharmacy was only fully relocated here just 10 years ago. So it's a bifurcated college. it was in Pullman and in Spokane. So Mark has a strong commitment to the research, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the individuals. I'll ask Celestina to remind us of some of those strong researchers, but they are committed to their degree programs. It's already been mentioned, but they, in collaboration with our College of Medicine, are launching a Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy and Medical Sciences. It will help in terms of going right into technical industrial roles or further to graduate into professional programs. In addition to that, they have launched and are sustaining a rural health initiative. They have reinvested in Yakima, holding steady and growing here in Spokane, but the team there in pharmacy and pharmaceutical sciences gets it. They understand their service role, even pushing the boundaries of what a pharmacist should and could do in terms of the way that they practice. So we're proud of what they're doing. They're going to have their graduation next week. And I will touch on accreditation for all of these colleges. They had an accreditation process that just occurred, and they were reaccredited by their accrediting body for 8 years. So they are in good standing. They are challenged by some fiscal issues, but they have a growth mindset that is playing out really well. So maybe I've helped one of those folks.
Yeah, so this is Dr. Bhagwat Prasad. He's an associate professor in the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. And the research that he is leading is to develop safer medication protocols for patients that are typically underrepresented in clinical trials. So his work focuses on safety medication protocols for children, for pregnant women, and for patients of underrepresented groups who typically are underrepresented in clinical trials. This is critically needed research. This will be helping pharmacy and medical researchers work with pharmaceutical companies to come up with safer medication protocols.
So let's shift in a little bit to our College of Medicine. So you'll hear in a moment from Dr. Reagan Burns, but I want to highlight a few things about the College of Medicine. So led by Interim Dean Jim Record. So Jim is a builder collaborator. He is one who has assimilated and grown a really good team. The College of Medicine was reaccredited with full accreditation standards. So that has occurred. There will be a site visit in 2 years. So while they have been successful, the LCME, the accrediting body, will come back and they will be on site in a couple of years. So what are the highlights of the things they're doing? As you know, graduating the 3rd cohort of medical students. So the 60 student cohort. So we're now pushing up at having nearly 180 COOD docs out there to serve society. Just keep in mind now that that initial class, they will move into their 3rd year of residency for many of them. And a year from now, they will about to be launching to their independent practice to serve across the nation. So yesterday was the graduation commencement ceremony for them. And it was highlighted by Colonel Gadsden, who came to talk. And Colonel Gadsden reinforced service to society. Those students probably didn't need to be reminded of that, but they understand that they are part of a community-based medical school whose goal is to not only be out there in the community, but to engage with, integrate with, and serve those communities. Having that vision and mission in mind, they also have been very deliberate about building their research program. Their research program for a community-based school is already very high. I don't know what the ranking is, but I think it's in the top 15. They're already approaching top 100 for a medical school. And you got to think about this. That is largely National Institutes of Health funded. A great leadership team. They have a great performance in many different areas. A couple other highlights, and I'll talk about this. So the pediatrics residency. Now, many of you will remember just a few months ago that Dr. Record and his team were able to celebrate the long process of the Pullman Regional Hospital and Nelson S. Boyd College of Medicine Family Medicine Residency Program. So we could spend the next hour just talking about the unique features of that. But what I want to remind you of is that we're dramatically underrepresented. So when President Schultz was talking about the residency programs, why it's incumbent upon this team to build those residency programs is if you look at the west side of the state, remember these little factoids. 32 residents per 100,000 population, west side. East of the Cascades, 8 residents per 100,000. It's not just that the population is greater over there and they've got more residency programs. We're dramatically underrepresented. So it's our responsibility not only to train these great COOP docs, but also to enable the residencies here in Washington so that they'll stay in Washington. This represented an amazing effort, and Jim and his team really delivered. So they did some great stuff with this. And that's again, the foundation, but it's also the leadership in medicine. But we will continue to push hard on these boundaries. I also want to mention that there's a really cool program that will begin, and it begins this fall, and it's a master's in healthcare administration and leadership. This illustrates our MO, collaborate wildly, internally, and externally. So this is a beautiful program that has been developed by the College of Medicine and by our Carson College of Business. The demand that we're already seeing from the health systems for this and others is remarkable. So we're excited about that launching.
Dr. Georgina Lynch is an assistant professor in the Nelson S. Boyd College of Medicine. Although we did celebrate her at Showcase, she's newly tenured and promoted, so soon to be associate professor. Georgina Lynch, her research has got tons of attention in the press and across really our clinical partners. Her research is focused on portable technology to screen earlier for autism for children. So with her screening devices, they're able to pick up on signs and really adequately screen children so that they can get interventions and treatments that they need at a much earlier time in their developmental life. So this has been fantastic for the College of Medicine and for local families. She also has a clinic now that is opened on campus too to help support these families and children. So just great work throughout the College of Medicine.
We have a bright future with many of these colleagues that are moving more and more into leadership roles. So I wanted to highlight a few of the things about nursing. We could spend quite a bit of time about nursing as well, but Dean Mary Coythan, who also, and for several, and we've talked about Elizabeth coming here as a leader during the pandemic. We've hired a lot of really great colleagues during the pandemic, and where Elizabeth didn't visit Pullman, Mary, I don't know if she had visited Spokane before, but Dean Mary Coythan has been in position for now nearly 3 years. So she has built a really good team. As you know, you embrace opportunity for them to change the structure of their college. They have a very strong BSN program, and they have a strong DNP program. They are statewide. They're looking at stabilizing. They're doing so. Their research, and I'm just going to mention this to you, is in the top 10 for colleges of nursing for NIH funding. That is really amazing. So they're doing great educational delivery, but they are also very strong in regard to their research program. And it's community-based research.
There's 2 faculty members in nursing that I'd like to share with you. The first is Kay Olson. She's an associate professor here in Spokane. She did receive her master's in community health and nursing from our Tri-Cities campus. And then we were lucky enough to have her become a faculty member here in Spokane. She is the recipient of the YWCA Women of Achievement in STEM. I was honored to be one of her nominees along with Dean Mary Coythan. Kay Olson really led the efforts in the College of Nursing during the COVID-19 pandemic. So she took students out very early on, and I think a low estimate is that there were 30 30,000 shots in arms for her vaccine distribution efforts regionally here. So key player known in this entire region for really leading COVID vaccine efforts here in this area. She also has assisted with Spokane Regional Health District for monkeypox vaccine distribution along with their students as well, and was a key person for the Healthy Pets, Healthy People program that we do in partnership with VetMed, where we have folks without homes come to receive vet care for their animals that are living with them. And then, oh, by the way, we have nursing students here that would also like to take a look at you and help you with any health problems that you might have too. So she's a key clinical faculty member in nursing. Dr. Janessa Graves also just won an award through the Washington State Rural Health Association for outstanding rural health research. So Dr. Graves' research is focused on disparities in screening for mental illnesses in K through 12. So our kiddos across the state, she has found that there is much less ability to screen for and diagnose mental health in children in rural school districts compared to urban school districts, not just in our state, but also nationwide. So her work largely in this area, looking at these urban rural disparities, is really hoping to make impact in policy and funding for school districts in rural areas to be able to fully support behavioral health needs in those school districts.
So this slide is an interesting slide, and it may feel a little incongruent, but here's the take-home message that you will see here a lot of the WSU team. Note that we have research, we have leaders of our colleges, we have our government relations. Recently, we had the director of the National Science Foundation come to Spokane. We literally asked them, would you please go to Pullman? Would you please go to Pullman? They said, no, we're coming to Spokane. And I said, well, okay. But the director punch is there in the middle. You can see Chris, you see Glenda, you see others, a lot of leaders who have contributed to the very thing that we focused on, advocating for workforce development and research investment. This was actually an illustration of something that occurred, is that we were asked to step up and represent for the city and for Eastern Washington. It was a great time to talk with the director, but to really have a focus on many of these issues that we were challenged by in higher ed, but also the economic development piece. So I do want to wrap up pretty quick, but there's an area that I would like to talk about. This is one that continues for us to grow. And Dr. Naomi Bender could not be here. She is out on the road, but our Native American Health Sciences, this takes a full leadership team to do this. You know that we have a Center for Native Health. Most of you have seen that. But one of the focuses is when we work with the colleges, and they are equally committed to this, is that we will support the students who can move from middle to high school into their college career and then hopefully beyond interprofessional or graduate programs to move on to serve society, specifically hoping to recruit, educate, and in some cases return those folks. So what we're not going to do is talk about a lot about the Native Health Sciences, but I'm going to ask if Celestine will just introduce Dr. Baker.
Absolutely. So on behalf of Native American Health Sciences, the Elston-S. Floyd College of Medicine, and really all of us here at WSU, we are honored to celebrate our very first Native American graduate of the MD program. We were able to be part of and help celebrate Dr. Burns in a traditional blanketing ceremony where we had tribal leadership from the Spokane Tribe of Indians come here to help support and honor the work that's been done, ancestors, and those in the future. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Ravenbirds to come up and share some words.
Good morning. Dr. Burns, I'm so good.
It fits, just wear it.
So there's a few words. I think thinking about why I chose WSU from the start. I had other schools I was looking at back then, and I think what stuck out to me was the opportunities to work in Native communities that I taught at WSU, with it being a language university. Doing my interviews, I would specifically things I would ask, like, do we get to work with different tribal communities on reservations, tribal clinics? And when I was here, that was something I got a lot of feedback saying that there were those opportunities, and I didn't see that in a lot of other places. So I found that to be unique, and that's what drew me to coming here to WSU. And I found that that's been an amazing experience from getting to work with researchers like Dr. Lonnie Nelson. I've gotten to work at different tribal clinics. I've had the opportunity to work at mobile health clinics to go to rural communities to provide care. I think it's just been an amazing experience overall. I'm really glad that I chose WSU as that school, because I don't think I would have gotten that same experience anywhere else. And there's definitely been challenges going through COVID during medical school. It's always interesting. I don't think anyone was expecting a worldwide pandemic, but it happened and we made it through. And I think everyone did a really good job of continuing to show support and pivoting and getting still that clinical education and knowledge. So I'm really glad that I chose this to do my schooling at. And sounds like there's going to be more residency programs. So hopefully as it goes forward, we'll get more folks that are homegrown able to come back to the east side, because it definitely needs more doctors over at this side. So.
And Dr. Burns, would you illustrate to the Regents, what are you doing now? Where are you going?
Yeah, so I'm going to be going to San Antonio. I'm in the Air Force, so I got selected to go to the San Antonio Burke Army Medical Center. I'll be doing my diagnostic radiology residency program down there. So I'll be there for 5 years, and then afterwards, be serving in the Air Force for a couple years. But then I hope to also eventually come back to Washington, because my home says I'd like to ultimately work and stay.
Thank you. And we are going to have to remember when you address Dr. Burns, we don't know if it's Lieutenant Dr. Burns or Dr. Lieutenant. We'll get that figured out. It's Dr. Captain Burns. No, I don't know. So thank you so much, Raven. And Raven will need to go. He took time out of an incredibly busy schedule. Would anybody like to ask Raven a question now? Is that okay, President?
I like to, could you tell us about where you grew up and your tribe?
Yeah. So I grew up in Bremerton, Washington. So it's more like around the Mish, but I am Native Alaskan with the Tlingit tribe. My grandma came down here when she was very young. But we've gone up to Alaska a lot, so I've gotten to still have that connection. And a lot of my friends down here, they're in the local tribe. So I just had like that great community, and still going to the different ceremonies and potlatches. It's been amazing down here. So even though my tribe is Native Alaskan, I still feel just at home being right down here. And, love it.
Great.
Congratulations.
Yes.
And Dr. Burns, congratulations and thank you for your service. When you think about your experiences here, maybe what would you recommend as sort of a suggestion to us to do better?
I think maybe for like certain students, it's hard to, in the first few years, to know like, what should I be doing? You come in and everything's all brand new, and it's kind of a whirlwind the whole 4 years, honestly. So I guess for maybe some students, there's more resources from the start, like mentorship, or here's like research opportunities that you'll need, at least on the nursing side. Those I know would be very helpful for a lot of folks, because in the first year or two, it's a little bit of a scramble to get some of those experiences at times. But if there's a way to pipeline it more or less, then I think that'd be really, really useful for a lot of folks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was my question. How do we improve our outreach? We want to be the opportunity university, so how do we enhance opportunity?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, getting something or resources for students early on when they're first coming here that they can have access to, I think would be huge for a lot of them. Because I was lucky enough, I got to work with Naomi, and she put me in touch with Lonnie And then I kind of got it going from there, but I know not everyone has that helping hand, but if they did, I think they'd go really far for a lot of students.
Thanks. Congratulations. Wherever down on the Riverwalk, they ticketed in.
Thank you.
This is a celebration, yeah.
We can definitely work on that pipeline research opportunities for sure, like today, we will, because that's great.
So we wanted to just mention to you that we continue to grow and expand the Steve Wiesen Institute for Neuroscience. This is now being done more internally and externally. Remember, it's research, clinical delivery, and the adaptive tech center. So this does continue to grow for us. We're also, and I'm just going to hedge a little bit, we're looking at how we would involve more deeply our College of Engineering in what is happening here, but also that we would fit well with what they're doing. So I'll ask Celestina to talk about our incubator.
Yeah, with Gleason also, they have a new support group in partnership with St. Luke's for patients with spinal cord injuries as well that they're starting. So really moving into that clinical space as well. SP3 Northwest was awarded a $65,000 grant from HSSA in order to equip new wet lab space here on our campus so that biotech startups can have a place to start, get that foundational work going before they grow and spin off, and with the hopes that they will benefit and impact our local economic health here in Spokane. So we're really pleased about that. Leadership at SP3 Northwest also presented at the Life Sciences Washington Summit that occurred, talking about the incubator needs of entrepreneurs across the state of Washington and what we can do here in Spokane and at WSU to assist with that. And they'll also be hosting the East-West Life Sciences Summit here on our campus in June.
Isn't that cool? So we will draw people from the west side, and we're developing relationships. Many of you saw the medicine building renovation. Here's a huge thanks to the government relations team for helping us with this. And then I'm just going to call out Eric Smith and the team. Eric reports to Margaret, but Eric has done a phenomenal job with this. So this is really an important advancement for us. Remember, 113,000 square feet usable, that we only needed to spend 15 million. So prudent fiscally, this will primarily house medicine. And when we have gone through the naming process, we just went to the simplest name on this. And so this will be the medicine building. The timeline for opening and the celebration is August 10th. And we will go ahead and do that. We would love to have those who can be here join us. Last is also a shout out to the government relations team. And Chris is pretty understated with those things. So I want to make it very clear that this was only, the Team Health Education building was only found in one of the three budgets. So Governor, Senate, and then the House. The Senate had it there, but he mobilized the team, the connections, the real relational investment that we've had to further explain. We had folks locally and folks across the state step up and say, this Team Health Education, which is about interprofessional education of healthcare learners. So this is about how do the docs work with the nurses? How do the occupational therapists work with the pharmacists? How do they work together? But it's even more than that. It's about the future of healthcare. We will have in this facility telehealth care education. And Dr. Burns may have not pointed this out, but I will tell you, we need to do better across the industry in terms of how we prepare our professionals to do telehealth. And that's part of what will happen in this space, and we'll have heavy SIM capability. But just a reminder, this is for 7 million, but we will be looking for philanthropic support, and then we will potentially go back to the state. So what we'd like to do is just remind you that we And I think I speak for Celestine here. We're really privileged to work with a strong team of people. We work well with each other and come alongside each other. The deans are working well with each other. We're pleased with the progress we're making. We'd love to take questions from you at this time. Or if we've completely worn you out, we're glad to go.
Just a comment or a question, just a thank you that we've had discussions on how to be a more strategic board. The most important pillar of that is the mission of the university. Land grant, university, people's university, the place of access, that place of opportunity. You both grabbed that baton and run with it. Thank you for that. It's always my point of the year to visit. Thank you for those experiences and thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Regent Blankenship. I would point out that I've had 4 conversations. So I'll be reaching out to Regents to ask them to participate. Of course, I will use appropriate process steps, but we will be reaching out to be partners with us on the issues. Thank you for your time. Oh,
I just thank you. I want to echo what Regent Blankenship said. The second time for me on campus, it was great to see the progress that's been made with the medical building, and that I can only imagine the energy that will be inside that building and the great learning that will occur there. I still think this is one of the best kept secrets in the state of Washington, WSU, and I'd like to figure out ways to be able to, I mean, what you described and demonstrated for us today is precisely what I'm talking about. It's not widely known, the incredible work that is done here in this area, Spokane, on this campus at WSU. And I'm just so excited and so proud and just want to say thank you.
I want to add one thing real quick. When I first started as a regent in 2014, we were just sort of at the point where we were trying to get the medical school even established and allowed through the legislature. And it was a time of great discussion, I guess I should just say. And I can just, you know, I envisioned at that time a medical school producing students. What I didn't envision was the breadth of what's going on, and really in I think a relatively short time, things just have grown exponentially, and it's more than just educating graduate students to go out into residencies and in the community. That whole breadth of research that's going on, the connections around the state and beyond, and it's just so impressive. I continue to be more and more impressed every time I come up here and hear more.
it's pretty cool to be part of it.
Well, you all are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's the students, and you've heard from them today. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have an addition to our agenda, and I'd like to ask our president that we have a commendation for our student regent, Brianne Chilton, and I will just say that we will take a photo and an opportunity to give you a little something after our meeting, but I'd like our president to say.
Great. Regent Chilton, thank you so much for your service. And I think, you know, of all the people that sit on the board, I think the student regent sometimes has one of the most difficult things, because you're in the discussions and dialogue around big university things and sometimes have to bring up an opinion that may not necessarily be shared by everybody in the room. And I appreciate your willingness to do it, to be professional. And we're also proud of your opportunity that you have next to be in Boston and Harvard, and look forward to seeing the great things you're going to do in your career. So thank you for your service, and we look forward to having you come back and talk about all the wonderful things that you're doing. So thank you.
I have a resolution to read, but I just want to echo what our president just said. And Heather and I had a conversation with Doug a little bit last night. We were actually commenting on how impressive you are and how impressive it is to sit at this table with student regents that I was sharing one day I hope to work for. And that we just find the dynamics in the room sometimes are challenging when you've been in a career for multiple decades, to find the space to lean in and to add value and to speak up. And I have seen you, even in your quiet way, lean in and share something so powerful and so important and so needed in that moment to be said. And so I just appreciate you showing up brave and willing to add to the conversation. Your voice has been needed, and we are so glad that you've been part of this table this past year. So thank you. I have a resolution number 230505-682. Whereas on July 1st, 2022, Governor Jay Inslee appointed Rianne Chilton as the student regent of Washington State University. And whereas on June 30th, 2023, Regent Chilton will complete her term on the Board of Regents with distinction. And whereas Regent Chilton carried out her responsibilities with considerable thoughtfulness, enthusiasm, and loyalty to the students and the entire university community. And whereas Regent Chilton has served as a passionate and persuasive advocate and voice for all WSU students and always represented the university in a positive, professional, and competent manner. And whereas while serving on the board, Regent Chilton has been an exemplary and generous citizen of the university, giving willingly of their time and talents while endeavoring to advance the university's efforts to serve the public good and community statewide. And whereas Regent Chilton has enhanced the role of student regent as a member of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee by providing sound counsel from the student's perspective on important issues. And whereas Regent Chilton has provided exceptional leadership serving as chair of the Student Regent Recommendation Committee for the 2023-2024 Student Regent. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Rianne Chilton be commended for her dedication and service to the Washington State University and to the Board of Regents. And be it further resolved that the members of the Board of Regents of Washington State University, speaking on behalf of the entire Cougar Nation, acknowledge with sincere gratitude and appreciations the contributions of Rianne Chilton and wish her success in all future endeavors. Dated this 5th day of May, 2023. I move that the Board of Regents adopt resolution number 230505-682. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
With enthusiasm. Thank you, Regent Powell. Is there any discussion? Hearing all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but I just want to, if I may, just say thank you all so much. This experience has been incredible. I feel like I have learned so much from every single one of you. I am just touched and honored that I had even this opportunity to see so many people lead with warmth and kindness and passion for not only our university, but how the work we do in our university reverberates through our state and our world. And so I'm just inspired by all of you and just really grateful that I got to have this opportunity.
Such a great way to start the meeting. All right. We are going to move into the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda before us today. So we have the approval of minutes from March 10th, the Board of Regents meeting. We have the establishment of departments in the College of Nursing and the discontinuation of the Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. Would any regent like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none. I move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Thank you. All right, Regent McDonald. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All those, okay. Motion passed. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Break, are we good? Okay. All right, we're gonna go.
Let's do 5 minutes.
Okay, let's do a 5-minute break. Okay. The Regents will take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 10:25, and then we will start with our reports from our shared governance groups.
for orders.
All right, we're ready to get started again. We're gonna start with our reports from shared governance, and we're running just a little bit behind schedule. And as I mentioned when we got started, we're headed to several different graduations. So we'd love to be able to try and keep our reports at about 5 or so minutes. I know some of the regents may have some questions too, so we'd like to be able to offer some time for some dialogue. So Mike, you are up. So first up, Mike Connell, Vice President for Advancement and CDO, and Lisa King, President of the Foundation Board of Directors.
Good morning, Regent Shower. Thank you. And we will hear from our chair, Ms. King, shortly. Good morning to all the regents. It's nice to see you in person. It's great to be in Spokane. Some of you know I'm a Spokane native, and I started my career when WSU Spokane was really just in its embryonic stage, very early on. And so this time of year, as we've talked about, it's so exciting. My office, I look, I'm in downtown Pullman. I see the cars leaving town this week as kids finish finals. And then it transitions Thursday and the cars start coming into town for graduation. So it's just such a fun time of year. I want to congratulate all of our graduates from all of our campuses and the people that helped them get there. Graduation is not singular, it's a journey, whether that be family, whether that be whomever helped our graduates achieve such a monumental thing. And so I just want to, again, pause to thank everybody that helped make it happen. Yesterday, I was watching online. I just want to follow up on Regent Pika's question of Chris relative to the philanthropy, the integration of philanthropy in the legislative process. It really is about teamwork. When I look at what it has been accomplished relative to the Schweitzer Engineering Hall and Pullman campus, we think about Chris and his team in GR. We think about the role that Matt has played in this, the role Olivia played in this. When we think about Mary and her development team, Mary also pulled together a cadre of volunteers. There's a whole lot of really generous donors that help make this happen. The principal giving team within advancement. And then I've talked before about Kirk's role in philanthropy. But when you're talking to Ginger and saying, any chance Kirk can go to Omaha on Tuesday, and it's, hey, we'll make it happen. Tulsa or the San Juan Islands? Well, if I got to go to Tulsa, I will. San Juan's not a little closer, but just the willingness to go and sit face to face and talk to donors and prospective donors about the importance of these projects. So I'm really grateful for the teamwork of everybody. And I do think there are more of these to come. We've demonstrated that we have passionate donors and that we, the big we, are willing to work together to make this happen. And so I just want to thank Chris and Leslie, welcome aboard, and thank your team and Elizabeth in your capacity of provost, and Mary and her team. This is a success story. Absolutely. I submitted some stuff before the meeting, and then of course, Kirk covers some of the philanthropic successes. So I will try to jump around a little bit. Year-to-date numbers as of this morning, $140.3 million. That's a big number. I'm really appreciative of that. As Kirk mentioned, we've got a shot at breaking the record we set last year in terms of total philanthropic private support to WSU. We're 96% of our goal. Today's the 80, if days in a fiscal year, today we're at 84%, so we're ahead of pace. We have 22 different fundraising teams. 10 of them have hit their goal. 3 are ahead of schedule to exceed their goal. When I've sat before you earlier this year, we were running a little bit behind. I know Kirk pushed out a note that we did receive a commitment last week, a revocable testamentary commitment of $45 million. So we've talked before that big numbers influence big numbers when you're in fundraising. And so I'm incredibly appreciative of the anonymous donor couple that has made this commitment. It is reflective of their passion for WSU, their confidence in where the university is headed, their confidence in Pat Chun and his leadership of the athletic department, which is where this gift will go, their confidence in Kirk and his leadership of the university. We're just grateful for their willingness to document what they intend to do for the benefit of WSU through their estate plan.
The endowment, quick update there, as of March 31st, $650.9 million, so about $651 million. Trending back toward high water mark for the endowment. Great vote for Regent Redmond and her service on the investment committee and our entire investment committee. They are doing meaningful work, and the endowment, as most of you know, kicks out about 4% per year. So in a given year, that means $25 million. We've already received 17 million this year in distributions. That happens quarterly. So very appreciative of that as well, and the donors that continue to contribute to the endowment. We spent a lot of time talking about the incredible work around the pediatric residency, and I want to thank Nancy Fike, our lead development director of medicine, for her work on that gift. Nancy's announced her retirement. I want to acknowledge Chancellor DeWald. He has worked with my team to restructure how we're doing development here on the health sciences campus. We've got a new leader starting Monday. Fantastic hire. We're making significant progress on the replacement of Nancy. We've got a phenomenal development officer in pharmacy, and so the future is very bright for development right here in Spokane on this campus. But as we've heard from Daryl and others, the impact of what's happening in Spokane is not just statewide, but much broader than that. And the work that we are doing together and how we're working together is already being felt and will continue to be felt more broadly moving forward. Kirk touched briefly on the commitment from David Pollard, and I just want to again acknowledge Todd Butler and his team. This is a result of our team hearing David's passion. When you spend time with David Pollard, it doesn't take very long to figure out he is passionate about the humanities and the arts. Kirk and Noel had a chance to meet David years ago down in the desert. When you walk through his home, he speaks with excitement about the art in his home. And so this commitment is a really good job by Todd and the development team, hearing David and saying, okay, this is where your interests lie. Let's figure out the best way to match your passion with what we can accomplish, Todd and his team can accomplish in the space around the humanities. So again, a big thank you to everybody, including David, for his commitment. In my written materials, I talked about Cougs Give, our day of giving, April 12th. Thank you, many of you, for your participation in that. A couple of high points. Cougs Give it's about fundraising, but it's also about engagement. We have the highest number of ambassadors, folks that are online talking about supporting WSU. So record number of ambassadors, 486. There's all kinds of different records throughout the day. At one point, Cougs Give was trending nationally on Twitter. And so that's when we talk about engagement. I tend to talk about fundraising. I'm a fundraiser, but engaging our alums, engaging our fans, engaging our parents, engaging folks around WSU is a big part of what our teams are doing. And so I just want to tip my cap to everybody that helped make Cougs Give a success. Yes, it's about fundraising, but it's also about engagement. And that's an area where we think we had tremendous success this year and will continue to have success. Our team does this work well, and they're committed to progressing forward in this space. Back on the fundraising side, Lisa, I'll turn it over to her in a minute, but our board meets at the Vancouver campus in a couple of weeks, and we will have a gift announcement that we'll make down in Vancouver. I'm very excited about that announcement and the support we're getting from folks in that community around an important project on the Vancouver campus. So I don't want to spill the beans, but tune in a couple of weeks for an announcement down in Vancouver. And then I've mentioned before, behind the scenes, our team is working very hard on the upgrade of our systems. You've heard talk about Workday, you've heard talk about the new budget model at WSU. Behind the scenes, we will convert our donor database. We'll ideally flip the switch on July 31st, and everything will be live and functional. There'll be some kinks to work out, but I'm excited about the future in terms of how we'll be able to manage information as efficiently as possible. So with that, I will turn it over to our board chair, who may be looking over my shoulder. You can't see that, Madam Chair, but it's always fun the boss is looking over his shoulder, one of my bosses. So I'll turn it over to you, Chair King. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you virtually today. I am truly looking forward to meeting all of you face to face very soon and having one-on-one conversations. Today, it's my pleasure to report on behalf of the WSU Foundation Board of Directors in several areas where we're focusing. And our next meeting will be May 18th and 19th at, as Mike said, the Vancouver campus. The governance committee has reviewed and approved a slate of potential new board members. The recruitment is being done by President Schultz and Mike, and they are actively recruiting for a cohort of 5 to 7 new members for the 2024 terms. The governance committee is also working on developing a revised selection process for the WSU Foundation's major volunteer recognition awards. Those awards are the Outstanding Service Award, the William F. Biff Brotherton Cougar Spirit Award, and the Weldon B. Gibson Distinguished Volunteer Award. A call for nominations for these awards will be held later this year, and award recipients will be recognized at our May 2024 spring meeting and volunteer award celebration in Spokane. The investment committee is reviewing new agreements with our endowment investment advisor and our custodial banking partners to improve our services and reduce overall fees through tiered pricing structures. The Finance Committee will review the draft fiscal year 24 Washington State University Foundation budget later this month. And finally, the Audit Committee reviewed and approved the 2021 990 tax forms for the WSU Foundation. This coming fall, to adhere to best practices, they will begin an RFP process for our fiscal year 24 financial audit after 7 years with KPMG. That being said, that's the end of my report, and I turn it back over to you or for questions from Mike or myself.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
I would just make a statement. I think it's to what Kirk said earlier, in this climate coming off a pandemic, to have your record-breaking year is quite a statement, and congratulations to everyone, team included. And I just, it's very impressive. And when you hear about the future and the slate things that are on our plate right now, and how philanthropy is such a critical part to making all those things, so many of those things come true, it's so important. And I just really applaud your efforts.
Thank you.
Good job.
Share that with the team, and we're appreciative of the donors. Maybe one closing comment. Some of you saw the Princeton Review came out with their annual rankings this week. Washington State University Best Value Public University number 50. Washington State University Best Public Institution for Internships number 10. And then I'll leave the third one for maybe for Mariah and her team, since it's a little more in their space. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Regent Shower. Thank you.
Thank you. Impressive report. Exciting. All right. Next up, we have our Alumni Association.
Regent Shower, I'm gonna, just to save us a couple minutes, I'm gonna turn it over to our board president.
Okay. Is Mark Schuster?
It's actually gonna be Lester Rivero.
Okay.
Coming from Hawaii, probably.
Yes, he is.
Ah.
There he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aloha, happy
You should
Aloha
have-
Friday, everyone. Good
Yeah,
morning.
different background on.
Oh yeah, President Schultz, Regent Shower. Good morning, everyone. Excited to be speaking with you this morning. Before I talk about our updates, I just want to take the opportunity to thank our outgoing Alumni Association President, Mark Schuster, for his service as our Alumni Association President. For those that know Mark, he has incredible energy, enthusiasm, and passion for our university. From his philanthropy work with Cougar Athletics to volunteering with the Alumni Association the past 5 years, and also helping lead the way to hiring our executive director. He definitely sets a high bar for anyone sitting in the president's chair now and into the future, and I'm absolutely proud to be following in his footsteps as our next Alumni Association president. So thank you, Mark. Moving on to our updates, we're proud to announce our 2023 top 10 seniors. We've been recognizing our top 10 seniors since the early 1900s. Student alumni ambassadors and the WSU Alumni Association recognized the top 10 students in 5 categories across the WSU system for exemplary achievements. There was a 64% increase in nominations this year. The recipients include, for academics, Madison Nayland and Thomas Ballinger. For athletics, Jacob McKeon and Meg Montgomery. For campus involvement, Giselle Salazar and Madeline Zedzora. For community service, Elena Cervantes and Dylan Harbo. And for visual and performing arts, Jake Barrett and Chloe Nealand. For full bios and videos of each recipient, they're available at wsu.edu/top10seniors. And I will be the first to congratulate our graduating seniors. I welcome all the graduating seniors to the alumni family, and I encourage you to reach out to your chapters and clubs wherever you reside. And talking about our amazing seniors, that leads me into commencement. We're going to have volunteers speaking at 3 ceremonies this year. We have Mark Schuster speaking at the Pullman campus ceremony, Katie Kane speaking at the Global campus ceremony, and Shelley Spangler speaking at the Everett campus ceremony. This year, a video featuring WSUAA board member and chapter president Ellen Price will be shown at every campus's commencement. It highlights the benefits of staying connected and giving back to WSU. We also work with each campus to unify the diploma cover inserts to have both information all grads need and campus-specific information. For my next update, I know Mike talked about this earlier, but Cougs were very giving last month. The Alumni Association raised almost $39,000 from 100 gifts during this year's 24-hour Cougs Give event. Highlights included generous matches from Jack and Joy Glover and Mark and Janet Schuster, who matched gifts up to $10,000 and donated an additional $10,000 after 50 gifts. Over 40 gifts to our 4 multicultural chapters supported engagement efforts. Many of our volunteers across the country helped amplify the messages through social media as Cougs Give ambassadors. I want to extend our gratitude to everyone that supported WSU and the WSU Alumni Association during Cougs Give, and a special thank you to Regent Cerna and Regent Ramos for your support of the WSUAA. We have some exciting events on the docket this upcoming fall. This year, we are partnering with ASWSU, Greek Life, and the Student Entertainment Board to bring Cougs a reimagined homecoming on October 13th and 14th. The signature event for festivities surrounding the football game is a pep rally at the Lewis Alumni Center, complete with fan interaction, local celebrities, and a stage for live bands and so much more. We're also excited to announce that we'll be offering 2 pregame events this season. These are events before select away football games. We hope you'll join us on October 28th at Arizona State and November 11th at Cal. These pregame events are a great way to connect with Cougs, enjoy great food and music, and hear from WSU leadership before heading to the game. We're also excited to announce that on August 25th and 26th, we will be hosting the Cougar 10 release party at 5 Star Cellars in Walla Walla. Cougar 10 is our next iteration in the Cougar Wine Collector Series. 5 Star Cellars created this superb red blend. The release party will be the first time the public can purchase a bottle of Cougar 10. Wine by Cougar's Wine Club members are guaranteed the bottle, and they have the option of adding additional bottles to their order in their September shipment. We want to thank our Cougar Connected Wine that supports WSUAA scholarships and other important initiatives. I know some of you have attended the feast in the past, and we're excited to bring back the feast later this fall. This year, the feast will be held on September 8th with 5-Star Cellars, the maker of Cougar 10, September 22nd with PLA Vintners, and November 3rd with Shawlin Cellars. The dinner features the incredible wines of a Cougar-connected winery, along with a 4-course dinner prepared by executive chef LJ Klinkenberg and a team of talented students. Our feast partners include the WSU Alumni Association and its Wine by Cougars Wine Club, the Carson College of Business, Connors, the Schnitzer Museum of Art WSU, and the School of Music. And for my final update, the month of May is WSUAA's Member Appreciation Month powered by BECU. A few of the highlights for the month include a Coug-themed Mortal. Katie Karstens, our Wine by Cougars intern, will be presenting a Washington wine education seminar. Later today, we're going to have a live DJ for a fantastic music mix on Twitch. Exclusive access to past editions of the Cougar Collectors Wine Series Wine, financial education series hosted by BECU, and a members-only shopping event at Adidas, Columbia, and Nike. I know some of you are already Alumni Association members, but if you haven't joined our 46,000 members of our Alumni Association, this is a perfect time. For more information about Member Appreciation Month, visit alumni.wsu.edu/member month. That's all I have for updates. I just want to say that it's an honor to be serving as Alumni Association president this upcoming year. I hope to connect with all of you in person in the near future, and those that I've met already. Looking forward to seeing you later this year. That's all I got. Wish you all a happy Aloha Friday and go Cougs.
Any questions from the Regents? All right. Thank you so much, Lester. All right, let's move on to the Faculty Senate Chair, Christine Horn.
Good morning. It's good to be here. We wrapped up our final Senate meeting of the year in April. And at that meeting, President Schultz spoke to us. And at the previous meeting, Zoe Heigl-Strong spoke, and both speakers highlighted progress on Indigenous issues, which are of great interest to faculty. Faculty continue to be concerned about issues I've mentioned in previous reports, perceived declines in the institution, perceived underinvestment in our core mission of teaching, research, and outreach, questions about where we're going as an institution and the strategy we're using to get there. At the beginning of the year, I noted that faculty the Faculty Senate have had 3 priorities: faculty well-being, the academic mission, and communication. And because issues related to institutional functioning came up frequently, that was a focus as well. In my written report, I provided examples of the kinds of things we did in each category, and I'll just give a few highlights here. Regarding faculty well-being, we worked with leadership to implement changes to try to make the faculty job better and to reduce some of the challenges faculty face in performing our core mission. For example, we worked to increase job security for career track faculty, which we think is the right thing to do, given their important service to the university and our students. Regarding communication, we instituted a bi-weekly email that goes out before each Senate meeting, and about 2/3 of our faculty regularly open this shortly after receiving it. And we think this says something positive about faculty engagement and interest in improving the university. We also meet regularly with the president and the provost and appreciate the consistent communication between university leadership and Faculty Senate. In terms of institutional activities, I want to highlight that we elected our first ever non-Pullman-based Senate chair, Tracy Klein from Vancouver. Senate really is a system organization. We take seriously our charge of representing faculty across the system and are excited to have leadership from multiple campuses. We appreciate the work of Senate, our Senate members, and our committees. They process a significant amount of work, much of which is invisible, and we appreciate what they do. We also appreciate all the work that WSU leadership has engaged in over the past year, and we look forward to continued collaborative efforts to move the university forward. And that's all from me.
That was a really fast report. You did that in, I think, less than 5 minutes. Thank you. I know this is your last meeting as faculty Senate chair. But I really appreciate the feedback that you provided. I have a couple questions. In your report that you submitted, you mentioned the results of the, and I don't know if this is how you say it, the coach survey? Coach survey. Can you share a little bit about that survey? I'm not familiar with it, maybe the results and or the reaction.
Yeah, so this is a survey that tries to get at sort of faculty morale and how faculty feel that work is going at the university. We administered this survey in 2014, and this now is the second time that we've done it. And so it provides insight into how faculty feel about shared governance and about leadership and about work life and about research and service. We have 5 faculty committees that are looking at the results of that survey, and that will be making recommendations to university leadership about how to address some of those results.
And faculty leadership is working with the provost and the president, it sounds like, both reviewing the results and working through those recommendations.
Yeah, Doug Call, who's our past Senate chair, is co-chairing the coach committee along with Laura Hill. So he's working on that. And then I'm serving on one of the subcommittees, and Doug is heavily involved as well. So yeah, we're working with the provost's office.
If I may, the Provost Office initiated the coach survey in collaboration with the Faculty Senate. It stands for Collaborative on Academic Careers in Higher Education Faculty Job Satisfaction Survey. It's a national tool that's used by many institutions. As a result of the requirement, state requirement that all Washington State faculty, staff, and students undergo training in implicit bias. There was funding available to apply for tools that would help you measure the impact of that. And so we use that as an opportunity to request funding, and we're funded by the state of Washington to run this coach survey, be able to compare it to the results of the 2014 data. It's a lot of data, and what we're doing is going through and comparing progress we've made, where we need to improve. And as Christine Horn said, we're working very closely with the Faculty Senate on diving into that data and then making sure we get it out and because people took part in the survey. So we want to make sure we get the results out, but we want to do it in a mindful way so that we can contextualize what it's in.
Fantastic. I really appreciate hearing a bit about that, especially the part where the state is helping to fund and support that level of engagement. So, and the collaboration. Thank you for the follow-up. Appreciate that.
When will that data or when will the report come out?
I'm thinking this fall, although Laura Hill is leading that. Am I right, Christina? So this fall. I think we got the data back earlier this semester, but as I said, it's pretty.
There's a lot.
There's a lot there, and we also do want to make the comparison, because you could put out and say, oh, 25% say X. Well, is that a good number? Is that a bad number? Where do we want to be? Where were we? And so we want to make sure we contextualize it. Am I capturing that correctly, Christine?
Yes, thank you for clarifying that.
I think we also have the ability to compare our results to a large cohort of other universities.
So they show you compared to peers where you sit, which is really valuable.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you for your service as the Senate chair.
Thank you.
I just, Christine, thank you very much for your service this year. You know, as Judy can tell you, this may be one of the most difficult positions at the university, because Christine is in the position of dealing with lots of faculty concerns that come forward. And she's brought a real nice problem solving together perspective. A lot of fiscal health communications that went out this semester that the Regents have seen was, you know, at the urging of the Faculty Senate leadership saying these are important things to be coming from the Office of the President. They worked with us on content and what things and tone. And I just appreciate the job you've done this year. It's a difficult thing to do, and probably the best thing for you is being past faculty senate. Anyway, but done a great job, been fun to work together, and anyway, well done.
And I
Thank
would
you.
just add, as past chair, you're not off the hook, so you still serve on executive committee, and we're grateful to continue to work with you.
But I'll just say, Christine, from the faculty perspective, you've done an amazing job as representing faculty, listening to faculty, working with leadership. Thank you so much for the job you've done.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, our next report is by ASWSU Health Sciences President.
Okay, cool. So I'm Anna Schmidt. I am the current ASWSU president here at our Health Sciences campus. I'm also the future president, so for next year as well. I just graduated from the College of Medicine with my bachelor's of science in nutrition and exercise physiology, and I'm going on to the master's program, the coordinated program in dietetics, to become a registered dietitian, hopefully in the future. So that is what is in the plans, and some things that we've worked on this year as ASWSU. So we have kind of a couple categories. So we've done a lot of campus development, health service, and also focusing on our Yakima campus, since they are part of us and represented by our ASWSU here at Spokane, as well as just talking about some goals for our upcoming year. So in terms of campus development, we are working on developing a veteran student service center to better serve our veteran students on campus and have a dedicated space for them. So right now we're in the process of finding a good location for that on campus and just kind of getting that set up. We're also have been working a lot on leadership training series along with our, so we have a kind of a newish position on ASWSU. It's our Director of Equity and Inclusion. And they this year have really been working on organizing leadership training that incorporates staff as well as students. So that's been a really great piece that we've been working on, as well as what's called our Gender Equity Restroom Project. So we already do have gender inclusive restrooms on campus. However, the signage still says like male, female. So we're working on transitioning those to more gender inclusive signage so that everyone feels comfortable and open to use those. Moving into our health services, so we did plan, we're kind of getting the health fair back up and running. It did stop for a couple of years because of COVID, but we do try to do that every year as a community health fair. So what this is this year was hosted at a local elementary school, Francis Scott, which is kind of in a more low income area. And what we do is we partner with community partners as well as people from students from all of our programs on campus in order to set up this health fair for both the children and their families. And so this year we had really good participation from our registered student organizations on campus, just coming and doing super cool booths for the kids, as well as really good resources like SNAP and CHAZ that came in order to support the parents and their families. Next, we're working on campus contraceptives. So we did do a survey in fall semester, and this was kind of engaging what people would like in terms of contraceptive on campus, if this would be useful, if it wouldn't. And we did find that students were in favor of this. And so we have met with the chair of multi-care about some resources in terms of that, as well as we're also working on connecting with the Spokane Regional Health District and kind of getting that set up and trying to find resources for our students, even if it's not specifically happening on campus, but just getting some sort of resources out there so that it's easy for students to access. And then for our Yakima campus, so Yakima, a big thing we did this year was set up their own campus pantry. So the PNWU that they're partnered with, the Pacific Northwest Health Sciences, they have their own campus pantry, but our Yakima students are not allowed to use it. So we set up their own campus pantry, and about 30% of the students have actually been using this. So that's super impressive. So this is something really cool that we got set up for Yakima. And then also our director of Yakima Relations, which is a member of our executive board, he organized and planned a student satisfaction survey and sent that out. And that was filled out by about 20% of their campus, which is pretty good. And we're kind of working on addressing some communication issues since a lot of the Yakima students do Zoom into lectures that are taught here in Spokane, and just making sure they have the same level and ability to communicate with the instructors and the students here in Spokane. So some goals for next year: representation for sure. I think we've seen a lack of people knowing who their ASWSU is, where we're located, what we do. And so we really want to make sure that they know who we are. And this last week on Wednesday, we had a street fair and ASWSU had a booth, and we did a really fun get to know you activity. So we had a dunk tank, and people could come up and they would fill out a little survey asking like, what do you want to see on campus? So they had to do that before they could use it, and then they could either dunk like any of us or, you know, one of their friends. So that was very popular. And we got some really great feedback from our deans on that event and just getting who we are out there. So that was super cool. As well as our student committees. So just kind of bringing back up to life, like our campus life committee, parking committee, just getting not only our senators that are already on those committees, but as well as other students from campus that want to participate in those areas to be able to help with those student committees and to benefit our campus. And then student life development. So something we are going to be getting in the works this summer is creating a student life survey. So kind of talking about that student experience from, you know, communicating before you're even getting into WSU and all the way to the end, and just kind of seeing what we could fix, what could be better in that department so that we are, you know, making sure enrollment's good and keeping students happy and just bettering the student experience overall here at WSU. I think that's all I have. Thank you. Any questions for me?
Well, great job.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you being here. Questions? Yeah.
Got a question for you on the Yakima campus integration. And first of all, thank you for doing that, because I think it's important for all of the students to feel that they're connected.
Yeah.
And so that's I mean, in the last few years, that's fairly new. So when did you have, you know, start your connection with them?
So yeah, we've had the director of Yakima relations, and this year it was he, and he was on our Yakima campus as one of the nursing students. And so I think he's kind of a really good connection for us, as well as we have usually a nursing and pharmacy senator also from Yakima. And so they really are kind of our guideline and pipeline on getting what Yakima needs, since none of us are there, and just making sure that since they are part of us and we are representing them, that we are getting their needs met as well.
Well, that's great. And I appreciate your enthusiasm and energy, and the fact that you're willing to do this 2 years in a row. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a first for us, I think.
Yeah.
What was the weather like during the dunk tank? Was it warm?
It was nice.
Was it?
It was 80s. Yeah.
Did you get dunked?
I did. Yep, I wasn't ready for it, but I did.
First time?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
That's cool.
Any other questions or comments?
How come the chancellor didn't get dunked? Is what I wanna
The chancellor's been dunked in the. I just didn't have fair warning to bring other clothes.
I think that crimson jacket could.
really. My blue jacket.
Well, next year we'll see if we can get a regent to.
Careful what
Since one of them is not here, we can.
Right.
just-
We have one that actually lives here in Spokane.
Marty's probably getting dumped right now, for all we know.
Yeah. They're gonna change the clothes, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I second, yeah.
All right, that's what happens when you miss a meeting. Okay. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you next year.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Graduate Professional Student Association President, Samantha Edgerton.
Hi there, thank you. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. Just want to thank you all for having us today, and I'm going to start off by highlighting of course, we want to jump in with our successes this year, and then I'll finish off by talking about some future challenges. And with that, we'll just jump right into talking about Graduate Professional Student Association held their general elections and a follow-up open application period. All of our college representatives have been filled for the 2023-2024 academic year, and all but 14 senator seats have been filled. I've been doing GPSA for over 4 years now, and this is, at this time of year, the most full we've ever had our Senate. So I'm really excited about this success. One of our goals at the beginning of the year was to reintroduce what GPSA does and highlight the programs we oversee. And I feel like the amount of participation that we were able to get in this general election and open application period really I really feel that our repurposing and putting a public face on what we do has really helped with this type of participation. So really happy to announce that. And as part of our general elections, we have a new president for next year. His name is AJ Barman, and he is the outgoing Vice President of Legislative Affairs. So he's here in Zoom world with me today. I promised him he wouldn't have to speak, but if he can just wave and say hi, AJ, that would be great. So the next area of success is our programming committee. We hosted numerous events this spring on campus. I believe back in the fall, I talked quite a bit about what our ideas were for the year. And while some programs had smaller attendance than we'd like, we found some different type programming events that we hadn't done before that sold out completely quickly and were extremely popular among graduate students. We also hosted several writing retreats this spring, which were well attended, and people actually personally came up and thanked me, even though I was not the one organizing this, but I was happy to accept thanks on behalf of GPSA. But this was a time where people were able to just come hang out and work on their dissertations or theses, and GPSA provided pizza and drink beverages for their comfort. So this was especially popular earlier in the semester. We also hosted 2 sold-out spring pottery workshops. Going to give a plug, even though you're all in Spokane, but Terracotta of Pullman, it's a small business in the local community. So it was, not only did they provide a service to us, but they appreciated the partnership with GPSA. And this offered, I will give you an anecdotal story here about my own self. I had to be pushed to go to this because I thought I don't have time between everything I've got going in my life, but it was actually a perfect decision to have made because this type of activity for graduate students just offered a chance not only to commune with our fellow colleagues, but also to relax in an environment where we're using our brains to do something artistic and creative. So it was great. Other highlights for our programming committee were our East Coast Swing Dance Night, which was extremely well attended. This included beginner lessons followed by a social dance and a special screening of Paris's Burning in partnership with the Kenworthy Performing Arts Center over in Moscow. We also continued our work that I introduced in the fall on food insecurity, but our Community Affairs Committee also hosted a clothing donation drive and an Earth Day cleanup at Sunnyside Park in Pullman. This is pretty exciting because the Community Affairs before COVID hit was a fairly new committee GPSA had introduced, and trying to get out into the community during the pandemic made things a little complicated, but we have an extremely dedicated group of individuals working on community affairs now. So doing that clothing donation drive and working with businesses in the community as well as the Earth Day cleanup was a real highlight for this spring. Coug Day at the Capitol also happened on January 23rd. 61 WSU students, including 9 graduate students, visited Olympia and met with several legislators. This is in my 4 years that I've seen, this is the highest number of graduate students. We actually, I believe, had to turn a couple people away because we had to limit how many we could bring. So the desire to be a part of the legislative process and advocate on behalf of graduate students is definitely strong. The bills we advocated for include the following: HB 1399, which proposed tuition waivers for Indigenous students; HB 1069, implementing mental health counselor compact; HB 1156, extending the terms of eligibility for the Washington College Grant; and HB 1559, which is a student basic need bill, which highlights the need for graduate students' affordable housing, food security, and childcare. The WSU Graduate School, another highlight here, WSU Graduate School and GPSA hosted a ceremony to honor winners of the Research Expo and GPSA Excellence Awards on April 11th, welcoming over 150 attendees. This was definitely a standing room only event and definitely a highlight of, I would say, my 4 years here working with GPSA. It was a great night. Thanks to the generous contributions of benefactors, the 2 organizations awarded over $71,000 to outstanding graduate students and academic advisors. So some of our challenges: we met with mixed results in our continuing efforts to bring awareness to student food insecurity. We did hold a referendum to increase graduate student fees by $5 per semester to contribute to specifically the Cougar Food Pantry Fund, but it failed due to not meeting the minimum threshold of voters. However, we do have plans for doing a better job next year to publicize why we're doing this and exactly, how that money will be spent. So hopefully we will get more involvement there. In the meantime, we've budgeted enough to cover a similar amount that the fee would bring for next year, and we'll hold a note. And I would like to give a special shout out to Tammy Berry at the Graduate School, as well as Todd Butler at the College of Arts and Sciences for helping us with donations and being supportive of our efforts in that area. And finally, in-person events for our professional development initiative. Graduate students on a whole, I have to say, have the biggest amount of difficulty committing themselves to in-person events since coming back. So there tends to be an ease that Zoom provides that a lot of graduate students have leaned into. So this summer, the PDI Executive Board will be spending a lot of time figuring out how those programs or the programs that we offer can meet the needs of the most amount of students while also promoting, that community feeling, whether it is via Zoom or hopefully encouraging people to come back to in-person events. On that note, I just want to thank everyone for giving us the chance to speak here. It has been my pleasure to serve as president of GPSA this year, and I'm super confident that AJ will do bigger and better things next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samantha. I know this is your last meeting. We appreciate you reporting to the board. Are there any questions for Samantha?
Just really quickly, Sam, I just want to highlight, you've served in leadership in GPSA for literally years. You might be one of our longest serving GPSA leadership ever. And you've done an incredible job. So I just wanted to take a moment just to give you so much kudos for all the work you've done.
Thank you so much, Ryan. You are a hard act to follow. And so I absolutely appreciate your kind words. You're wonderful, and I will come visit you at Harvard.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next report is Administrative Professional Advisory Council Chair Angie Center.
Hello, everyone. Happy graduation eve. It's a very fun and exciting day for us here in the Pullman campus. A quick report for you of the last couple of months. In March, our meeting was focused on the employee tuition waiver program, and this is really an area of interest for our constituencies and something that we're going to continue to look at next year. And our employees are really interested in being able to expand this program, hopefully through the global campus, if at all possible. Our April meeting, we hosted Anne Moreau. She was the HRS Benefits Service Director, and she discussed the Employee Assistance Program. And this is an area that we found out a lot of our employees did not know was available to them. So kudos to Anne for bringing us some information there, and another program that we plan to promote more to employees. And then April was AP Appreciation Week, which is probably my favorite week of the year, because we just get to celebrate all of the amazing work that APs do across the system. And so we hosted system-wide events on mental toughness, resiliency, even chair yoga. And then we capped off the week with the AP Appreciation Awards program, which is just really always so fun to get together. And we gathered in several campus locations in person and then all Zoom together. And although we had a wonderful nomination pool, we elected 6 APAC Appreciation Awards, and they went to Chris Condor, the Director of University Communication Relationship Management, Communication and Strategy from WSU Pullman, Jennifer Ellsworth, Cougar Health Services Executive Director, WSU Pullman, LaRonda Zupp, Student Service Coordinator Advisor 1, WSU Vancouver, Richard Miller, Student Services Manager, WSU Pullman, Derek Brown, Research Support and Operations Manager, also Pullman, and Chris Skog, Director of the Center for Student Excellence at WSU Spokane. And you can see their wonderful, beautiful faces on the screen right there. So congratulations to those award winners. And if you'd like to learn more about what made them special and amazing, we have put their nomination letters on our website, which is apac.wsu.edu. And then lastly, we just wrapped up our elections. So we have a full 33-member council, including 7 alternates that were elected, and we had more applications than we had space for, which I think really bodes to how well we are doing with activism within APAC. We also have re-elected all the executive staff for this year. So I will be chair again next year. Brandon Fisk will be vice chair, and Carla Ely Marquin from Spokane will be treasurer next year as well. And our thought process behind that, and obviously membership agreed since they reelected us, was a little bit of continuity for another year will help to push our strategic plan forward, since that ends in 2025 and we made such great strides this year. It's something we were really looking forward to having some continuity to move forward to next year. So y'all are stuck with me and the rest of us for one more year. So any questions? Great.
Good.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll move to our Board of Regents committee reports. The first up is the Executive and Governance Committee report. This is a little awkward for me. So normally, Ms. Dickinson would do the election of officers. However, I will be reviewing this report and then seeking a motion to elect myself as the chair of the WSU Board of Regents. So again, just a tad bit awkward. What I do want to mention is that in our committee meeting, we did discuss, and I heard consensus that we will work on assessing and reviewing a bylaw change to shift our appointments to 2-year appointments. I'm also very excited that this motion includes Regent Ramos as our vice chair. So with that, that is both my report as well as a lead into reading the motion. So our motion is the election of officers. So I move that Lisa Shower be elected as chair of the WSU Board of Regents for the year beginning July 1, 2023, and that Jeanette Ramos be elected to serve as vice chair of the WSU Board of Regents for the year beginning July 1st, 2023, with the understanding that she shall act as chair pro tem in the absence of the chair, with the power to preside at the meetings and to sign all instruments required to be executed by the WSU Board of Regents. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Congratulations.
I do want to take a moment and just say that there is 8 pages that I printed of former regents. And although on the website, it shows only, well, it shows 1891 to present. And I looked to try and see if we could maybe identify, and I asked Des, and I reached out to see, do we track any demographics? We're a land grant university. How do we, kind of center our values, and are we looking at, how diversity, equity, and inclusion show up? And it's not lost on me that this month is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. And I cannot seem to find that we have ever had a Native Hawaiian board chair ever serve. And I cannot seem to find that we have ever had 3 women that have been the past chair, the current chair, and the vice chair. And so I do want to just take a moment and say that I do think this is a bit of a historic moment at WSU, and that I hope that this helps to reflect not only what we're hoping to do with our students and our faculty, but reflect some of the changing demographics. And I'm extremely proud as a 5th generation Native Hawaiian to have the honor and the privilege to sit at this table and to be part of this incredible university. So thank you for the opportunity to serve. With that, I am going to turn the reports over to Regent Shetler to do our strategic and operational excellence committee report.
Thank you, Regent Shower. Again, congratulations to you. The Strategic and Operational Excellence Committee met yesterday. We have a very fulsome report. We had one information item from Provost, and it was from Elizabeth Chilton, our Executive Vice President and Provost and Pullman Chancellor. And she talked about last year's reflections and current horizons. And we got a leadership update. We learned that Julie Carboni, Director of the Williams D. Ruckelshaus Center. She's joining from Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs from Syracuse University, and she will, her role will be effective on July 1st, 2023. And then we learned that Marcy Rezak, Dean of Boylan College of Engineering and Architecture, was reappointed effective July 1st, 2023. We also learned of some other leadership changes. Dr. Larry Chip Hunter, Dean of the Carson College of Business, is leaving to join Temple University, and Debbie Campo will be stepping in as interim dean. We also learned that Mike Trevisan, Dean of WSU College of Education, will be stepping back August 2024. And Elizabeth told us that there's time for proper searches for these roles, and that that is all well in hand. And we wish both Dr. Hunter and also Mike Trevisan best of wishes in their future endeavors, and thank them for their service to WSU. We also had a focus discussion item on legislative session update, and as President Schultz mentioned in his comments, it was a very fulsome legislative year. It also, not only was it successful, but it was done so during leadership changes within our external affairs and government relations team, And Chris Mulick did an exemplary job, and we just want to thank you, Chris, for that. And in addition to one of the big things that happened was the cost of living adjustments for the final operating budget for 2024 and 2025, where we received a 2.2% increase for fiscal 2024 and 1.6% enhancement in fiscal year 2025 from the state. In addition to those funding for compensation, WSU was also appropriated more than $22 million in the operating budget for new academic programs and research. And this is ongoing funding, super important that we have that. And another $145 million was appropriated for capital facility enhancements and a lot of much needed enhancements on campus. So that was an excellent outcome. And again, Chris, thank you to you and your team. We also received a report from our Chief Compliance and Risk Officer, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration, Leslie Brunelli, and your first, well, one of your first Regents meetings, and it's a pleasure having you here. And I can say that in 90 days, you've caught on very fast, and it's a pleasure to have you here, and I look forward to working with you. And we also heard from our Chief Compliance and Risk Officer, Cheryl Commerzel. I hope I got that right. Commerzel, yes, who gave us a very fulsome report as well. And we learned a lot about compliance, the Clery Compliance Act, Title IX. We talked about risk management, university programs and minors, cybersecurity, and enterprise and risk management update. Again, as I mentioned, very fulsome reports from all of those that participated, and really appreciate your reports. And that concludes my report.
Our Academic and Student Affairs Committee report, Regent Cerna.
Thank you, and happy Cinco de Mayo. And no, it is not Mexico's Independence Day. Just want to get that clear. All right, we had two items that were presented to us by Chancellor and Provost Elizabeth Chilton, and also this WSU Health Sciences Spokane Chancellor Derek DeWald. The first item was establishing a department in the departments in the College of Nursing. We also heard from Chancellor or Executive Vice President Provost and Pullman Chancellor Elizabeth Chilton. God, you got a lot of titles. About the Bachelor of Arts, discontinuing Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science degree. We also have moved these to not future items, but to items, action items that we want to take action today, I believe. We already did. Okay, so we already did. So that's all I have, because that's it. We acted.
Very efficient. Okay, thank you. Still the chair of the Finance and Administration Committee, so I will give that report. So we had 9 future action items that we discussed, and we spent actually most of our time in 4 information items. I think it's really important that I mention we did review our fiscal year 2022 financial statement audit results, and we had our auditor that came and did that presentation, which I think is just such an important opportunity for the board to engage directly with the auditor. And just as a reminder, I spend time directly with the auditor without our WSU leadership, which I think is also another important opportunity for us to have that direct access. And there were 2 findings. Our leadership team is already working on that. I think what's important here is also to remember how much change our finance team has taken on all at the same time, and the tremendous success that has come from that change, and how quickly I think not only the finance team has led that change, but the rest of the WSU team overall has adapted to that change, because it is a lot. It's the budget model. It is certainly how you input all of your time, so workday, and then a new auditor on top of all of that. And as Regent Shetler mentioned, we welcomed Executive Vice President for Finance and Administration, Leslie Brunelli, into all of this mix at the same time. So there's a lot happening in this committee and in this group. So we also looked at the financial performance report. We spent a significant amount of time really trying to understand from our perspective and at our level the budget, which I think was a really good use of our time, and appreciate the finance team's ability to kind of work with us to kind of unpack that a little bit so that we could understand it. Heard a bit of an update around the budget relative to WSU athletics and the need for us to kind of wait to get a fuller budget because of what's happening with Pac-12 and how important it is to understand that piece before we see that full picture. 9 future action items and a pretty significant amount of action items for us to move forward with today. There are a total of 8. I'm going to go through each one and I'll pause so that if there is discussion, we can take the time to discuss those. I'm going to start. The first one is WSU Pullman Taylor Sports Complex increase in the design phase budget. And before bringing the motion, I want to note for the record that it was decided that this item will be presented as an action item rather than a future action item in accordance with the Board of Regents bylaw 2.12.b. I move that the WSU Board of Regents adopt resolution 23050-683 and approve an increase of $6 million in the design phase budget for the WSU Pullman Taylor Sports Complex and further delegate authority to the president or designee to enter into any and all contracts necessary to complete this phase of the project within the budgeted amount of $8,400,000 as proposed. Is there a second? Second, Regent Redmond. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passed. Okay, motion for action item number 2. WSU Pullman College of Veterinary Medicine, Abelson, sorry, Eastlick and Husted building renovation, project budget approval. Before bringing the motion, I note for the record that it was decided that this item will be presented as an action item rather than a future action item in accordance with Board of Regents bylaw 2.12.b. I move that the WSU Board of Regents adopt resolution 23050-681 and approve the WSU Pullman, Abelson, Eastlick, and Husted building renovation with a total project budget not to exceed $22 million and authorize the project to proceed using the design build process pursuant to RCW 39.10 and further delegate authority to the president or designee to enter into any and all contracts necessary to complete the project within the budget as proposed. Is there a second? Regent McDonald. Any discussion?
We're just excited to have our space improved.
Only I could say it right. Okay. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay. The next is tuition rate setting. Okay. So motion for action item number 3. So this is tuition rate setting for the professional doctor of nursing practice. Right, okay. 1 second. As I determine exactly which motion I need to read here, I do want to make a couple comments about our tuition rate setting. When I first joined the board in 2018, I remember the flow and the cadence of the rate setting discussion around tuition, and it felt very fast to me, and it felt like a really big decision, mostly because as a first generation student, 2%, 3% made all the difference between 1 year and the second year. And yet when we got to this point in the board meeting, it seemed like it just went so fast and everyone inevitably kind of needed to say yes. And it didn't feel like there was a lot of discussion, which I soon learned so much discussion happens on Thursday and happens in the March meeting. And through the board discussions, we have implemented a 3-tier process that I think is so important, and one that, one that I think is been really beneficial, particularly this year, is we looked at tuition rate setting in January, in March, and then again this board meeting. And with each of these different conversations, the finance and administration team has reflected any questions that the board has had and are bringing back answers to those questions. So we become more and more comfortable with our information to be in a place where we feel like we can make this decision. So it is an important decision, and it's not one that I certainly in my role take lightly. I also think that it's really important to understand and recognize that the state authorizes a cap on our tuition. And so this year that cap is 3%. But in this motion and what we are planning to do is not utilize that full cap at 3%, but that the proposed amount is less than that at 2.5%. So that's what we discussed in the meeting yesterday, in the committee meeting, and just wanted to share kind of commentary on that. So appreciate the confirmation as I got a little bit sidetracked in a piece of this motion, and the patience as I step into a new role here. So I will read the motion for tuition rate setting. I move that the WSU Board of Regents set tuition rates for academic year 2023-2024 and establish a new tuition rate for the Professional Doctor of Nursing Practice, DNP program effective for academic year 2024-2025 as proposed. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Motion for action item number 4, WSU Pullman academic year 2023-2024 housing and dining rates. I move that the Board of Regents approve housing and dining rates for academic year 2023-2024 as proposed. There's a second. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Motion for action item number 5, WSU Pullman Student Recreation Center fee increase. I move that the Board of Regents approve an increase in the WSU Pullman Student Recreation Center fee beginning academic year 2023-24 as proposed. There's a second.
Second.
Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes. Motion for action item number 6, academic year 2023-2024 services and activities fee rate change. I move that the Board of Regents approve rate changes in campus services and activities fees for the academic year 2023-2024 as proposed. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Motion for action item number 7, academic year 2023, 2024, and summer 2023 services and activities fee committee allocations. I move that the Board of Regents approve the allocation of services and activities fees for academic year 2023, 2024, and summer 2023 as recommended by the student-led services and academic fee committees representing each of the WSU campuses as proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passed. Motion for action item number 8, WSU Pullman fiscal year 2024 undergraduate student technology fee committee allocations. I move that the WSU Board of Regents approve the allocations as recommended by the Pullman Undergraduate Student Technology Fee Committee for the 2024 fiscal year as proposed. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Great. Yesterday, May 4th at the Regents meeting, the Regents met in executive session with legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation involving the university. And the Regents will not be taking any action as a result of those discussions. We are going to step into public comment period. We will now allow the next 10 minutes of the meeting for the public to provide comments to the board. Please keep in mind that there is a 2-minute limit per speaker. The first speaker is Gil Rezin. If you could introduce yourself and Gil, it looks like you're on Zoom. Maybe give us a little bit of topic you'd like to speak about and your affiliation.
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. All right. Cool. Well, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to comment today. My name is Gil Rezin. I'm an undergraduate ending my first year here in computer science at WSU. And I'm also a member of Fossil Free WSU, which is part of the Environmental Sustainability Alliance student organization. Our advocacy this past academic year has included holding rallies on campus, including one just 3 weeks ago on Earth Day, circulating a student petition and faculty/staff survey, presenting to student organizations, and last November, meeting with President Schultz. On February of this year, I personally interviewed Jay Inslee, Governor of Washington State, during his Foley Institute talk here about whether he would support a decision by WSU to divest from fossil fuels and invest in renewables, to which he concurred with our cause. For our advocacy in the upcoming year, we look forward to the startup of WSU's Environmental Sustainability Task Force this fall. Our representative will be working to ensure that our goal of full divestment from the world's largest 200 fossil fuel companies within a specific time frame is included among the task force's recommendations for sustainability. We know that divesting WSU's portfolio from fossil fuels is complicated. Most of these investments, for example, are indirect through investment vehicles. Also, some fossil fuel companies are engaged in developing renewable energy sources. However, we believe that these and other challenges to divesting can be overcome if WSU truly wants to be sustainable and address climate change. And so we ask that you, members of the Board of Regents, approve our divestment goal when deciding on the task force's recommendations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gil. Appreciate your you showing up today and providing us public comment. Right. Anything else you might want to add?
Nope, sorry, I'm good. Just checking off the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's that time where we are about ready to close the meeting. And before we do so, I just want to demonstrate my appreciation to our executive assistant, keeper of all things, Desiree Jacobson, who has been in this role for quite some time and has accepted a position within the WSU system. And I think I wouldn't have said yes to my role had I known that she was seeking a different I really appreciate all that you do to help us show up and be ready in this space. And we will miss you. And we're lucky that you are in the system and we can call on you. So thank you for all you've done. And thank you for all you did to get us ready for this big meeting, but all you have done throughout the many years to help all of those that have been in these seats before us.
Black eye on the vice president of finance.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's also May. There's so many things that you can celebrate about May, but May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I just want to wrap up with, there's lots of things happening. I know we're graduating a lot of students this weekend, and we also need to remember to kind of center ourselves and get outside, take a walk, maybe get off our electronics and find time to connect and really remember why we're here, which is about taking this moment to, see all these students and families connect and graduate and really be excited about the accomplishments. 354 new healthcare professionals here. So much to be proud of. So with that, I want to demonstrate my appreciation for our president and our provost and all of the leadership that show up to support us and to be here today, and to my fellow board of regents. And we're ready to head off to all the different graduations, and just want to close the meeting. And the Regents Board of May Board of Regents meeting is now adjourned. So thank you all.